Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at fast fashion.
Ooh, exciting.
I mean, come on, we all love it.
We do?
You know those super trendy clothes that are like so affordable you can't resist?
Right.
But have you ever actually thought about what goes on behind the scenes?
Yeah, what about the impact of all those clothes?
Like on the planet.
On the environment and the people actually making them.
Exactly. So that's what we're diving into today.
The hidden costs of fast fashion.
The good, the bad, and probably the really ugly.
Yeah, it's going to get a little uncomfortable.
But it's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely. It's a massive industry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars.
Trillions with a T.
Trillions with a T, over $2.5 trillion globally.
Whoa, that's like more than some countries' entire economies.
Right. It's mind-blowing.
And get this, back in 2000, the average person bought like 20 new pieces of clothing a year.
Yeah, but by 2020, that number had more than tripled.
Oh, no way.
To a whopping 68 garments a year. That's like a new outfit every week.
Practically. And it's all thanks to fast fashion.
Okay, so fast fashion, it's all about speed, right?
Yeah, super fast.
Like, how quick can they get these trends from the runway to the stores?
Exactly. Some brands can churn out new designs in as little as 2 weeks.
2 weeks? That's insane.
It's lightning speed.
Especially compared to sustainable fashion.
Oh, yeah. Sustainable brands take a much slower approach.
Much more thoughtful about the whole process.
They prioritize quality, using ethical practices, sourcing sustainable materials.
Right, thinking about the long-term impact.
Exactly. So it might take them months to create a single garment.
Makes sense. They're focused on creating pieces that last.
Yeah, not just trendy throwaway items.
Okay, so we've got these two totally different philosophies when it comes to clothing.
Fast fashion versus sustainable fashion.
But let's dig into the impact of all this fast fashion.
Let's start with the materials.
Okay, what are we mainly talking about here?
Polyester mostly.
Polyester, like my gym clothes.
Yep, pretty much about 60% of all clothing produced today is made from polyester.
Really? Wow, I guess it is everywhere.
It's cheap, versatile, but there's a catch.
Oh, there's always a catch.
Think about it. Polyester is basically plastic.
Wait, hold on, plastic?
Yeah, it's derived from petroleum.
So it's like wearing a plastic bottle.
Kind of, and it's not biodegradable.
Meaning it doesn't break down in the landfill?
Exactly. It just sits there for centuries.
Oh, no, that's not good.
And its production releases tons of carbon dioxide, almost 3 times more than cotton.
Wow. So it's bad for the planet from the start.
And then when it eventually breaks down, it turns into those tiny microplastics.
Microplastics, those little bits of plastic we hear about everywhere.
They end up in our oceans, our food chain.
Safe.
It's a huge problem.
Okay, so maybe not the best choice for the environment?
It's definitely something to think about.
And what about the other stuff we wear?
Well, all clothing production uses a lot of water.
Oh, right, especially for things like cotton.
You got it to make just one cotton t-shirt. You need a whopping 700 liters of water.
700 liters? That's like filling up my bathtub over 100 times.
It's a crazy amount. And for a pair of jeans, that number jumps to about 500 liters.
500 liters for one pair of jeans. Seriously.
It's true. Now imagine that multiplied by billions of garments produced globally each year.
We're talking about a massive strain on our water resources.
Absolutely, especially in areas already facing water scarcity.
So we've got the massive amounts of water used to make the clothes.
And then what happens to that water?
It gets polluted, right?
The dyeing process is a major culprit.
The dyeing. Really?
Yeah, think about all those vibrant colors in fast fashion.
Right, there's always a new color coming out.
And to get those colors, they use a lot of chemicals.
Chemicals like what?
Things like roseau dyes and heavy metals.
Heavy metals? That sounds scary.
They could be toxic to aquatic life.
Yeah.
And even dangerous for people.
Oh, no, not just the environment, but people, too.
Yeah, especially those living near the factories.
So these chemicals end up in the water supply.
Unfortunately, yes, contaminating rivers and ecosystems.
Yeah. I've heard about this river in Indonesia, the Sitorum River.
Oh, yeah, the Sitorum.
Considered one of the most polluted rivers in the world.
A lot of it's due to textile factories dumping their wastewater.
That's terrible. The water is literally dyed different colors.
It's heartbreaking to see the impact on the environment and the communities.
Okay, so we've got mountains of clothes ending up in landfills.
And toxic chemicals polluting our water.
What about all that textile waste we keep hearing about?
It's a huge problem. We generate a staggering 92 million tons of textile waste globally each year.
92 million tons. That's unimaginable.
And get this, a whopping 85% of it either ends up in landfills or is incinerated.
So it's either sitting in a landfill or being burned, releasing harmful gases.
Exactly. It's a lose-lose situation.
And what about recycling? Can't we just recycle all those clothes?
Sadly, less than 1% of clothing is actually recycled into new garments.
1%? That's ridiculous.
It's a huge missed opportunity.
And of course, we can't forget about the microplastics.
Oh, right, the microplastics.
All those tiny fibers that come off our synthetic clothes when we wash them.
Every time you wash a polyester shirt or a fleece jacket,
Microplastics are released into the water.
and end up polluting our oceans, harming marine life, and potentially even making their way into our food.
It's pretty scary to think about.
It's a sobering thought. Something as simple as washing our clothes can have such far-reaching consequences.
500,000 tons of microplastics entering the oceans every year just from washing our clothes.
It's a mind-boggling number.
Okay, so we've got landfills overflowing with clothes.
Toxic chemicals in our waterways.
And microplastics everywhere.
The environmental impact is undeniable.
And these problems are often magnified in developing countries, right?
Sadly, yes. Many garment factories are located in countries with weaker environmental regulations.
So these communities bear the brunt of the pollution.
They often lack the resources to properly manage the waste and contamination,
It's a vicious cycle of exploitation.
impacting both the environment and the people living in these areas.
Speaking of exploitation, we can't ignore the human cost of fast fashion.
Absolutely.
It's built on cheap labor, right?
Sadly, yes. Many garment workers face incredibly low wages and unsafe working conditions.
Often working long hours in cramped factories.
To meet those tight deadlines and keep costs down.
And it's not just adults, right?
Unfortunately, children are often exploited in these factories too.
It's truly heartbreaking.
The pressure to produce clothes quickly and cheaply often comes at a huge human cost.
I remember that horrific factory collapse in Bangladesh back in 2013.
The Rana Plaza disaster.
Over 1,000 garment workers lost their lives and thousands more were injured.
It was a tragedy that exposed the dark side of fast fashion.
And a wake-up call for many consumers.
It forced people to confront the real human cost of those cheap clothes.
And it's not just the workers who suffer.
Communities around these factories are often impacted as well.
From the pollution and contamination.
Right. The textile industry uses a lot of chemicals and dyes,
And these chemicals can end up in the water and soil.
leading to health problems for the people living nearby.
I read about this case in India where chromium contamination from leather tanning
Oh yes, chromium.
has been linked to increased cancer rates and unsafe drinking water.
It's a devastating example of how the industry can impact entire communities.
So we're talking about environmental damage, worker exploitation, community health problems.
It's a complex web of interconnected issues.
And it all stems from our insatiable demand for cheap clothes.
Our obsession with fast fashion is fueling this destructive cycle.
Okay, but let's be real here. Fashion is a huge part of our culture.
It's how we express ourselves.
It's how we connect with others.
And it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
So how do we even begin to address these problems?
Well, it starts with acknowledging that there is a problem,
Right, recognizing the true cost of fast fashion.
both the environmental and the human cost.
So what's the solution? Do we all need to stop shopping completely?
Not necessarily, but we need to change our mindset
From mindless consumption.
to conscious choices.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Okay.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
So we've uncovered some pretty shocking truths about fast fashion, right? But, there's hope.
Okay, good, because I was starting to feel a little doom and gloom over here.
I get it. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but there's a growing movement towards sustainable and ethical fashion, and that's super encouraging.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? Like, what gives you hope?
One of the most encouraging signs is that people are starting to wise up.
Wise up.
Yeah, like they're becoming more aware of the true cost of their clothes.
Okay, so not just looking at the price tag anymore.
Exactly. They're starting to think about the environmental impact, the human cost, all of it.
So all those documentaries and social media campaigns, are they actually making a difference?
I think so, for sure. It's raising awareness.
And I feel like people aren't just talking, they're actually changing their shopping habits.
That's the key, right? Putting our money where our mouth is.
Voting with our wallets.
Exactly. Choosing to buy less, buy better, and support brands that align with our values.
Okay, so consumer pressure is one piece of the puzzle.
But it can't just be on consumers.
Right, we need systemic change.
Absolutely. So what about the role of governments? Are there any policies pushing the industry towards sustainability?
Good question. I mean, are there?
There are some promising developments. For example, the EU launched a strategy for sustainable textiles back in 2022.
Okay, what does that mean?
It aims to make clothes more durable, recyclable, and promote a more circular approach to production.
Circular approach, so like closing the loop on textile waste?
Exactly, using and reusing materials as much as possible.
That sounds promising.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. Hopefully other countries will follow suit.
Okay, so we've got consumer awareness and some government regulations.
But what can we do as individuals right here, right now?
Yeah, like I want to make better choices, but where do I even start?
One of the simplest but most powerful things you could do is just buy less stuff.
Buy less. Easier said than done.
I know. But before you click add to cart, ask yourself, do I really need this? Will I wear it for years to come? Is it made from sustainable materials?
Okay, so being more mindful about what I buy.
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity.
But let's be real, sustainable fashion can be pricey.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. There are tons of affordable options out there.
Okay, like what? Spill the tea.
Thrifting is amazing. It's affordable, environmentally friendly, and you can find some incredible, unique pieces.
Plus, it's fun. It's like a treasure hunt.
And it helps reduce textile waste, giving clothes a second life.
I'm a big fan of thrifting. I found some of my favorite pieces secondhand.
Another thing you can do is take good care of your clothes.
Okay, yeah. I'm guilty of tossing things out if they get a little rip or stain.
But learning some basic repair skills can make a huge difference.
Repair skills.
Like sewing on a button, patching a hole. It's easier than you think.
I guess I could try YouTube tutorials.
Exactly. Or take your clothes to a local tailor.
Okay, so it's about extending the life of our clothes.
Exactly. And if you do need to get rid of something, try to do it responsibly.
Responsibly.
Donate to charities, sell them online. Anything but throwing them in the trash.
Right, because that just ends up in a landfill.
You can even upcycle old clothes into something new.
Ooh, I love upcycling. Turn an old t-shirt into a tote bag.
Exactly. Get creative.
Okay, but what about when I do need to buy new clothes? How can I tell which brands are actually sustainable?
It can be tricky. There's a lot of greenwashing out there.
Greenwashing.
Brands trying to make themselves look more eco-friendly than they really are.
So how do we see through that?
Look for certifications like Fairtrade, GIOTS, B Corp.
Those labels mean something.
They indicate that a brand has met certain standards for social and environmental responsibility.
Okay, so do my research, basically.
Exactly. And look for brands that are transparent about the supply chains.
So I should be able to find information about where and how their clothes are made.
Absolutely. They should be using sustainable materials, prioritizing ethical manufacturing.
Got it. And what about supporting smaller independent brands?
That's a great way to make a difference. Often they have more control over their supply chains and are more likely to prioritize ethical practices.
Plus, you're supporting small businesses.
Exactly.
So we've talked about changing our shopping habits, supporting sustainable brands.
But it's also about using our voices.
Our voices.
Yeah. Talk to your friends and family, share what you've learned, encourage them to make more sustainable choices.
They'll spread the word.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of social media.
Social media, I spend way too much time on there already.
But you can use it for good. Share information, follow sustainable fashion influencers, hold brands accountable.
Okay, so using my platform for positive change.
Exactly. It's about creating a ripple effect.
Inspiring others to take action.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Perfect. I'm far from it.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Okay, so every small step counts.
Absolutely. Every conscious choice we make brings us closer to a more sustainable fashion future.
It's about shifting our relationship with fashion.
From mindless consumption
To appreciation and respect.
for the planet, the people who make our clothes, and ourselves.
I love that. It's about wearing our values.
Exactly.
So with all these positive trends happening, what does the future of fashion actually look like? Is real lasting change possible?
I absolutely believe it is. And I think that's what we can dive into next. I absolutely believe it is. And I think that's what we can dive into next.
Okay, so paint a picture for us. What does a more sustainable fashion future actually look like?
Well, one of the most exciting things happening right now is the development of innovative new materials.
New materials, like...
We were talking about Milo earlier, that leather alternative made from mushroom.
Yeah, mushroom leather. That's pretty wild.
Right. But it's just one example. There are so many other cool things happening in textile innovation.
Like what else? Give me the scoop.
Well, researchers and designers are experimenting with all sorts of things, like pineapple leaf fibers, algae-based fabrics, even lab-grown materials like spider silk.
Spider silk?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's amazing. These materials are not only more sustainable, but they also have unique properties.
Like what?
They can be stronger, more durable, even biodegradable.
So the future of fashion could be way more interesting than just cotton and polyester.
Exactly. It's about expanding our options and thinking outside the box.
I love it. What about recycling? Any cool advancements happening there?
Definitely. Traditional recycling methods for textiles haven't been very effective,
Right, it's hard to recycle clothes.
but new technologies are emerging that allow us to break down old clothes and create new fibers without sacrificing quality.
Okay, so we're talking about actually closing the loop on textile production.
Exactly. It's called closed-loop recycling, and it has the potential to drastically reduce textile waste
That sounds amazing. So less clothes ending up in landfills?
and less reliance on virgin materials.
It's a win-win. And what about other technologies? Is tech playing a role in all of this?
Absolutely. 3D printing is another game changer.
3D printing for clothes.
Yeah, imagine being able to print custom-fit clothing on demand.
Wow, so like no more mass production.
Exactly. You only use the materials you need, and there's minimal waste.
It's like the ultimate in personalization and sustainability.
It's pretty incredible, and it's already starting to happen.
So technology is definitely shaking things up, but are there any shifts happening beyond the tech world?
Absolutely. Alongside these high-tech solutions, we're also seeing a resurgence of traditional craftsmanship.
So like a return to slow fashion.
Exactly. People are rediscovering the beauty of well-made clothing, valuing quality and durability over fast fashion's fleeting trends.
It's about appreciating the art of fashion.
Right, and cherishing those pieces for years to come. It's a move away from mindless consumption towards a more conscious and connected way of experiencing fashion.
I love that. So with all these positive trends, what does this mean for the average fashion enthusiast? What can we do to be a part of this change?
I think the most important thing is to remember that we have the power to shape the future of fashion with our choices.
Okay, so our choices matter.
Absolutely. We can choose to buy less, buy better, and support brands that are truly making a positive impact.
So it's about aligning our spending with our values,
Exactly. And we can also use our voices to advocate for change.
like speaking up about these issues.
Exactly. We can demand transparency from brands, support policies that promote sustainability, and spread awareness.
So it's not just about what we buy, but also how we use our voices.
Right. It's about being informed, engaged, and taking action.
I love that. So it's not about feeling overwhelmed or guilty, but empowered.
Exactly. We all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable and ethical fashion future.
It's about making conscious choices and wearing our values with pride.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And remember, fashion can be a force for good.
It can be.
It can be a source of creativity, expression, and connection.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to ensure it's also a force for sustainability and justice.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fast fashion.
My pleasure.
We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to make a difference. Until next time, make conscious choices and wear your values with pride.